Hey guys. Okay, so I'm a very, very strong believer that you can always find a positive in every single negative situation, a kind of like a silver lining, if you will. Sometimes you do need to dig to be able to find that positive in the scenario. Sometimes you do have to dig more than other times. But if nothing else, you can always walk away and say that you learnt from the experience or you grew from the experience. Now, the positive, if you will, that I'm taking away from this whole coronavirus situation is that if we all suddenly start working from home, it's going to become socially acceptable to turn up to work in activewear. Better still, pajamas. Oh, I'm going to be living my best life. So sad. Anyway, earlier this week, I put a post up to show you guys that myself, B and Leslie were all set up to be able to work from home. And we gave you insight into one of the tech tools that we like to use to be able to keep the communication lines open between the three of us, Voxer. You guys lapped that post up. We've had over 100 likes on both Facebook and Instagram. And better still, when I go into Voxer, I see so many names that I recognize from social media popping up as suggested contacts for me. So that tells me that you guys have jumped on board. So I thought this week, rather than doing the same old town planning video, why don't we just build on this whole working from home theme? Why don't I show you 5 of the tools that we use to be able to help us to work from home? So that if you guys choose to, or are forced to, work from home in the future, you have some tools, let's just say, at your disposal. Some things to help you keep your teams operating and running efficiently and effectively. So let's jump behind the computer and let's do this. Okay, so first things first, let's start with phone systems. Unfortunately, unlike the other tech tools that I'm going to talk about today, this one isn't one that you can instantly set up. It does require a little bit of legwork. However, I would still strongly encourage you guys to actually consider this because it's great to use not just when you're working from home, but in all situations. So what is it? Well, as you can see, it's called Dialpad. Essentially, it's an internet-based phone system. Why do I love it? Well, number one, you can use existing devices. So for us, if B receives a phone call and she's sitting at her desk, she can choose to put a headset on and answer it through the computer. If for whatever reason she needs to get up and move around, like say the postie turns up or something, she needs to run outside, what she does is she just says, hey guys, I'm just gonna put you on hold for a second, puts you on hold, picks up her mobile phone, taps on the app and continues the phone conversation. So you don't need fancy schmancy home-based handsets, let's just say. You can use your existing devices, which is great in situations like this where you obviously don't have the time to prepare and set up the infrastructure from home. Now, the second thing I love from this is that, or love about this, I should say, is that you can transfer calls seamlessly. So B will always, if you ring the main line, you will get B. When B answers, if she knows I'm in a meeting, or if I've said to her, hey, I need to lock myself away for a little bit just to churn out some applications, I really need that focus time, she will say to you, I'm sorry, Peter's tied up at the moment, or she's not available at the moment, can I take a message, etc., etc. However, if she knows I'm actually in the office, so behind my computer, what she will say to you is, let me just check, I'll see if she's available. She then presses the button on her app, comes through to me, says, hey Peter, I've got such and such on the phone, are you available to have a chat? I sit there, go, yep, put them through. She has 2 options then. She can either go back to the person and say, yep, she is available, I'm just transferring you now, or she can transfer you straight on through. So it's as if we're working just right next to each other in the same office. You guys are none the wiser. So I love, love, love Dialpad. Now, let me just check. The final thing I want to say was cost. Okay, so yes, it costs a bit of money, unlike the other tools we're going to talk about today. I think we pay $400, $500, something like that a year. But overall, that's huge. It's huge saving. I love it because you're not paying, like I said before, for the fancy schmancy handsets. So I'd encourage you to check Dialpad out. Now, if you do decide that you want to jump on the Dialpad bandwagon, then I'm going to suggest you check these guys out, IT Genius. So Peter's crew are great when it comes to building online work from home type businesses and setting them up with the right infrastructure. So these guys can get some great deals because they're like one of Google's biggest providers or business. I don't know what they call themselves. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is what I like to call the water cooler conversation tool. See, when you're working from home, one of the things you're really going to miss or you're really going to notice is the fact that you don't know when people are actually in the office, and you don't need to, or you don't get to stay up to date with all of their weekend stuff, what's going on with the family, all of that sort of stuff. So I recommend you set up a chat sort of platform. When people get into the office, so when they walk in their pajamas or their activewear, they need to type into the messenger to say, hey guys, I'm here, I'm ready to start work. Then if they ever pop out, obviously if you go to the toilet, don't worry about it. But let's say you're stopping for lunch or you're stopping to whatever you need to do, put a quick message into the chat box and say, hey guys, just stopping for an hour, or just popping out for lunch, or just doing whatever. That way, everyone in the team knows who's available at any one point in time, because you just jump in there and you go, oh, hold on a sec, Leslie popped out before, but B hasn't said anything, so B must be in. So it's great in terms of keeping tabs, let's just say, on where everyone's at. It's also great to keep that team morale up, because you get to talk all the time. So you sit there and go, oh, what's happening with the puppies, or what's happening with your mum or your dad or whatever. So yeah, it's a great way to stay in touch. Now, we originally used Skype. We've used Skype for years and years and years for this purpose, because our business has always been set up for the ability, what am I trying to say here, to give us the ability to be able to work from home. So we were originally using Skype. Recently, probably in the last 6 months, we started to notice there's some issues in terms of lag times with the notifications coming through. So we moved over to Google Hangouts. Hopefully the team doesn't say anything embarrassing in this conversation. I'll probably have to blur some stuff out. So anyway, we moved over to Google Hangouts. Now, if you're not set up with your emails through Google, you can obviously set yourself up as a personal account. Still use Google Hangouts. I think you can anyway. Look into it. We moved over to be able to overcome that notification lag issue that we were having. Pros and cons to Google Hangouts. See, because I've used Skype for so long, it's what I know, it's what I feel comfortable with. That's probably the biggest issue I've got, is I'm just used to my old school ways. Even me, who loves technology and change and all that sort of stuff, I get bogged down sometimes. But anyway, the biggest issue I have with Google Hangouts is the fact that you can't escape it, let's just say. So because it's part of my email, what am I trying to say? Not platform. Yeah, platform's probably a good way. Because it's part of my email platform, if I'm in my email, so let's say I'm drafting up an application, I need to go back and search for the old set of plans, or I need to search and see what we talked about in terms of that tree or that driveway or whatever the issue is. If I jump into my email and I start keyword searching to find the information I'm looking for, all of a sudden these notifications are popping up at me because people are chatting in Google Hangouts. So if I want to block that noise out, it is very hard to escape it. I'm sure there's probably some way you can turn the notifications off. I just haven't had the desire yet to prioritize actually turning it off. So yeah, if you want to sort of avoid those water cooler conversations when you've got to really prioritize your focus time, probably just invest a bit of my time to try and work out how to turn the notifications off. Otherwise, potentially consider Skype instead of Hangouts. But the positive I will give Google Hangouts is you can keyword search conversations. So if I'm sitting here going, oh, what did Leslie say about that job the other day? What was it? Oh, I'm sure we didn't put it in an email. It was just a passing conversation we had. If you keyword search your email, you can choose to include or exclude Hangout conversations. So it means you've got all that data at your fingertips, which is awesome. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is screen capture programs. Basically, when you're working in a physical office, you can always turn around to people and be like, oh, B, can I just show you something on my computer quickly? Or, oh, can I just explain something to you? Obviously, when you're working in a remote sort of setup or scenario, you don't have that ability. So using screen capture or screen recording programs helps you to overcome those issues. I personally use Jing. Number one, like Skype, because I've used it since day one. It's what I'm used to. So it's not necessarily the best one out there, but that's probably a big influencing factor, let's just say, in my decision. Number two, it's a freebie, and who doesn't like a freebie? And number three, it actually has a 5-minute time limit, which can be a good or a bad thing. For me, it's a good thing because it stops you waffling on, or it stops team members just going off on tangents. Everyone needs to keep to the point so you don't waste everyone's time. But other options you could potentially consider are things like Snagit. There's so many different ones out there, pros and cons, like I said. Some have time restrictions, some don't, some are paid, some are not, etc., etc. But it's great if you want to be able to explain something to your team and you can't quite get it across in verbal format or image format or whatever. Record your screen, send the video through to the team, and then they understand what you're actually talking about. Okay, so if you want to build on that whole screen capture thing, the next thing I'm going to suggest is that you consider a remote access program. So the two that I've had exposure to are TeamViewer, and then the second one is Remote Utilities. Now, they're kind of a step up from the screen recording in the respect that you're still showing people what's happening on your screen, but it's happening in real time. So I can say, hey, Leslie, do you mind just jumping onto my computer? And normally you set it up so there's password protection, you can see when they're jumping in, all of that sort of stuff. Because I've got the trust there with my team, they can actually access my computer at any point. I can disconnect it at any point, but at the moment they can just jump in and out all the time. So Leslie can jump in and I can be like, okay, look, I'm having this issue with my email. Can I just show you? So we can be on the phone or whatever, chatting away, and then I can show her while she's watching my screen live on her screen. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that when you use these programs for commercial purposes, there is usually, or is not usually, there is a fee associated with them. So make sure you research that properly before you dive down this path, let's just say. Now, there probably is other ones, but they're the only two ones that I've had exposure to date, because we've been happy to work with Jing and other things. We haven't really needed remote utilities for any of those extra sort of functions. Now, the final thing I wanted to talk about was Voxer, which I mentioned the other day. We use Voxer for instant communications. So situations where in an office scenario, you turn around and go, oh, B, have you done that? Or, oh, B, did you just call that person? Or Leslie, where are you up to with that application? So those scenarios where you would turn around and actually talk to someone. So what you do is you pick up your phone, go into the app, click on the person's name or the team's name if you've got a group going on, hold your finger down on the button and just start talking. Now, if they've got their notifications turned on at the other end, they will get a audible is what I'm trying to say, an audible ping at the other side. If they have the app open, it will just literally start talking. So if you want to tic-tac back and forth, as I like to call it with Leslie, tic-tac back and forth, instant communication with that person, you just make sure both people have their apps permanently open, sitting on the desk, and that way you can be talking to each other as if you're sitting in the same room. So good. I love Voxer. Like even before working from home, if you finish a meeting and you suddenly want to get someone to do something, I just tap on Leslie's name and I go, hey Leslie, just finished this meeting. Would you mind sending me an email to remind me to do A, B, and C? And oh, by the way, would you mind looking up D for me? Oh, and can you send me that information on E? Oh, so handy, because it is so much quicker to talk through something than it is to actually type out an email. So I love Voxer. Now, just a couple of tips. So what we do within our team is obviously you send the message through, and you can send in other formats. You can do text format, image format, etc., etc. But the voice recording format is the best one. So you send it through, and then what we do is it actually tells you when the person has read it. But we go one step further within our team. We like to make the person like it. So it's kind of like a sign of to say, yep, I got it. So it's not just I've heard it, it's yep, I understand and I'm on it. So from my perspective, the minute I look down and I see that they've liked it, so it's got that little heart next to it, that's the point where I go, oh cool, we're sweet. I don't need to worry about that anymore. And the other thing I love about it is you can forward the voice recording. Actually, you probably can do video. I've never explored that option. No, I have. Yeah, I love that. Anyway, back on track. You can also forward the communication to your email. So we operate out of Teamwork as our project management system, and we'll have a bucket load of tasks in there. The person just gradually works through one by one. If I'm out on the road and I think, or somewhere else, and I think, oh, I need to tell them that thing about that task, I just Voxer it through and say, hey Leslie, would you mind adding this audio clip to the task so that when you get to it, all the information's there. So I don't want them to overload themselves with all the information now, but I want to make sure when they get to that task, it's there. So it's great, it comes through their Voxer, but instead of getting lost in the chain of communications, they then forward it to their email or attach it to Teamwork, whatever's required, and you've got that communication there. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, so that's 5. Okay, so the big tip that I want to finish on with you guys is make sure you're very clear in terms of what type of communication is to go through what platform. So for me, like I said, Skype or Hangouts is the water cooler conversations. It's the low priority general chit chat. If I'm busy, I can turn that off and totally ignore it, and I don't need to pay any attention to it. If I want to catch up on what's been happening in the team, if I've been offline for a day, I can scroll through it. But most of the time, I know that that's unimportant general conversations. However, Voxer for us is, I need an answer now. So if Belinda or Leslie sit there and go, oh, I'm actually stuck on a task, I can't progress this, or it's something that's critical to our customers, they will communicate with me via Voxer. And then you've obviously got all the other methods like remote utilities if you need that instant sort of visual aid. You've got Jing or whatever screen capture if you want to show them a video, blah, blah, blah. But you want to make sure there's clear rules or boundaries on what each tool is to be used for so that people don't go blurring the boundaries and then you go, oh, should I be in Hangouts reading what's going on? Or, oh, people are blocking up my Voxer, it's just really bogging me down. So yeah, be very clear on that from the beginning. So there you go, 5 tools that we use internally within Brisbane Town Planning to ensure that the communication lines remain open so that we continue to operate efficiently and effectively when we're working from home. Hopefully you guys have picked up at least one tool or technique that you can implement within your own teams to help them operate from home during this interesting time, let's just say. If you're sitting at home right now and you're going, I've got my own tool or I've got my own technique, then come on, share. Add it as a comment below because I would love to keep this conversation going to benefit all of us. Now, as I always say, until next time, thanks for watching.
you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got three. Number one, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number two, Brisbane town planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number three, what was my number three? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all.